Morgan? There it is.
I think we're close enough. Please let me call to order the Bristol, Tennessee City Council meeting of May 2nd, 2023. Mary Lee, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Luttrell?
Here.
Turner?
Yes.
Firewoman?
Here.
Hutton?
Here.
Howard? Here.
I would like to welcome everyone this evening and thank you for attending tonight's meeting. Your interest in city government is appreciated. There are a number of opportunities to speak on matters of city business this evening. A sheet explaining those opportunities have been made available to you when entering the meeting room. As we go forward with tonight's agenda, I will note each time when public comment is welcome. In addition, a sign-up sheet has been provided as you enter council chambers for those individuals desiring to address council during our appearance of citizens. We'd like to ask Councilman Mark Hutton, Vice Mayor Mark Hutton, and to lead us in our invocation, and Councilwoman Lee Powers to lead us in our pledge.
Join me as I pray. God, we give you thanks because we are able to gather in this building at this hour and do the work of the city. We're grateful for all of these students that are here that have come through Communiversity, Lord. We're grateful for them. We pray that you would bless them in ways that are amazing. Lord, we ask that you be with us tonight as we do the business of this city. We pray that you would bring healing and hope and unity to our city. We pray that you would give us wisdom and discernment. You'd help us to act with wisdom. And we ask, Lord, that you would help us to lead this city in a way that brings flourishing for all and shalom as well. Lord, we ask all this in the powerful and the awesome and the marvelous name of Jesus. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Ms. Bourgeois, do we have any additions to our agenda this evening?
No, there are no additions.
Okay. Okay, we have 9 proclamations and 2 recognitions on tonight's agenda. First, we have a proclamation designating May 14th as Apraxia Awareness Day. I would like to ask Councilwoman Margaret Firewoman to read that proclamation. And we also have, I guess, Ms. Skywaller in attendance that will be receiving the proclamation.
And that'll be going up to the front there. So, whereas May 14th, 2023 marks Childhood Apraxia of Speech Day, during which awareness will be raised throughout Bristol, Tennessee, about this extremely challenging speech disorder that affects 1 in 1,000 children. And whereas childhood apraxia of speech, CAS, causes children to have significant difficulty learning to speak and is among the most severe speech deficits in children. And whereas the act of learning to speak comes effortlessly to most children, those with apraxia require early, appropriate, and intensive speech therapy, often for many years, to learn to speak. And whereas without appropriate speech therapy intervention, children with apraxia will have diminished communication skills, but are also placed at high risk for secondary impacts in reading, writing, spelling, and other school-related skills. And whereas that such primary and secondary impacts diminish future independence and employment opportunities and challenge the ability to become productive, contributing citizens if not resolved or improved. And whereas public awareness about childhood apraxia of speech is essential for families of children with this neurological disorder, and the professionals who support them to achieve the needed services for those learning to use their own voice. And whereas our highest respect goes to the children as well as their families for their effort, determination, and resilience in the face of such obstacles. And whereas Apraxia Kids is the leading nonprofit that strengthens the support systems in the lives of children with apraxia of speech. Now, therefore, let it be resolved that the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim May 14th, 2023 as Apraxia Awareness Day, and citizens of Bristol, Tennessee are encouraged to work with their communities to increase awareness and understanding of childhood apraxia of speech. This second day of May 2023, Vince Turner, Mayor.
Swallow, if you'd like to go to the podium and
My name is Sky Waller, as he mentioned, and I'm a volunteer with Apraxia Kids, as well as a mother to a child who has apraxia. My son Mason is 4, and he's 5, and he was diagnosed last year at age 4. He is in speech therapy 4 times a week. So since it's a neurological disorder, there is no cure, but therapy has helped a lot. So I really appreciate you all taking the time to add this to the agenda tonight and help spread awareness and make our community a more inclusive area. I really appreciate it.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So next we have a proclamation designating May 7th as National Travel and Tourism Week. I'd like to ask Councilwoman Lee Powers to read that proclamation.
Sure.
And we have in attendance Explore Bristol's Executive Director Matt Bolus and Creative Director John Scott, and Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association Executive Director Alicia Phelps to accept this.
I'm sure as you are aware, it's the birthplace of country music, the home of the 1927 sessions, the fastest half mile on the planet, as well as our beautiful outdoor recreational areas of the Holston River and South Holston Lake. Is it little wonder that we're recognizing travel and tourism this evening? Travel enables success for all industries by driving sales growth, innovation, education, and operations that move Bristol's economy forward. Tourism is the second largest industry in the state of Tennessee, second only to agriculture, generating a record $24 billion in domestic travel spending in 2021. That's domestic only. Whereas Sullivan County ranked 10th out of Tennessee's 95 counties in economic impact from travel in 2021, it generated more than $303 million in direct visitor spending, supporting more than 2,400 jobs. Whereas as a result of taxes generated by tourist activity in Sullivan County, each household pays on average $370 less in state and local taxes. Whereas our exciting destination marketing organization of Explore Bristol, along with the Northeast Tennessee Tourism Association, NETA, as our official destination marketing organizations, they work in tandem with area lodging and attraction operators and other partners to promote Bristol and the surrounding region as a premier destination for domestic as well as international travelers. Whereas in fiscal year 2022, the city of Bristol, Tennessee recorded its highest ever total occupancy tax receipts from stays at city hotels, campgrounds, and short-term rental properties. And whereas travel is an essential industry and we must continue to communicate that growing travel leads to even greater economic growth, benefits businesses, and fosters mutual understanding. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee does hereby proclaim the week of May 7th through 13th as National Travel and Tourism Week in Bristol, and we urge all of our citizens to get out, enjoy the beautiful place that we live, and to recognize the critical role this industry plays in our community. This is the second day of May 2023. Vince Turner, Mayor.
Hello, I'm Matt Bolus with Explore Bristol. I appreciate the opportunity tonight to, I just want to thank you. We appreciate the council, the city, the staff. The amount of support and the recognition of tourism is very important, especially for our economy and continuing to grow what is so special that we have here. So on behalf of the attractions, and I know Ms. Powers mentioned all those great attractions that we do have, we're very fortunate in this area to be the birthplace of country music, to have Bristol Motor Speedway, to have assets like South Holston Lake, festivals, events. Not all communities can boast that, and to welcome our visitors is really important from an economic standpoint and improves the quality of life of all of our citizens. So we thank you and welcome those visitors as they come into town, because your interaction with them, our hospitality is known far and wide, so we do appreciate it and celebrate National Tourism Week.
Thank you. All right, next we have a proclamation designating May 11th as Children's Mental Health Acceptance Day, and I would like to ask Vice Mayor Mark Hutton to read this proclamation. And we have Heather Barham with System of Care Across Tennessee, and Miss Ashley Arnold with Survivor Connections Program are with us this evening.
This is a proclamation designating May 11th, 2023 as Children's Mental Health Acceptance Day. Whereas addressing the complex mental health needs of children, youth, young adults, and families today is fundamental to the citizens of Bristol, Tennessee. And whereas ensuring access to services that are family-driven, youth-guided, and culturally appropriate places upon our community are critical responsibility. And whereas it is appropriate that a day should be set apart each year for the direction of our thoughts toward our children's mental health and well-being. And whereas Tennessee Voices, through its unique approach, is effectively caring for the mental health needs of children, youth, young adults, and families in our community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim May 11th, 2023 as Children's Health Mental Acceptance Day in the city of Bristol, Tennessee. This year's theme, See Me, Hear Me, Brighter Days Ahead, reminds us to stand united in a commitment to promoting acceptance of mental health needs and empowers us to strive to meet mental health needs of every child, youth, young adult, and family in the city of Bristol this second day of May 2023, signed by the Mayor, Vince Turner.
My name's Heather Barham. I'm a care coordinator in East Tennessee.
I'm Ashley Arnold, and I'm a certified family support specialist with Tennessee Voices Survivor Connection Program. So Tennessee Voices is very, very passionate about children's mental health, how it affects the family, the communities at large. Children's mental health can make or break a community. So we're actively working every day out in the field, in communities, trying to make sure that children and their families have as much resources, as much mental health care that they can get. So we appreciate the opportunity to be able to come and speak to you guys, and we appreciate the support from the city of Bristol. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have proclamation designating May 24th as WJHL Day. I would like to ask Councilman Malin Luttrell to read the proclamation, and we have anchor Kelly Grossfield with us to accept.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas in 2023, WJHL is celebrating its 70th anniversary, and whereas WJHL, founded by Haynes Lancaster Jr. and Sr. and Jay Birdwell, was the first television station in the Tri-Cities market, and 70 years later remains committed to their viewers and keeping them informed. And whereas WJHL was on track to become the first television station to sign on in East Tennessee. However, a few weeks before sign-on, the station's original transmission tower, being constructed on Tannery Knob in downtown Johnson City, collapsed onto a building. And whereas WJHL staff rallied and launched its inaugural broadcast on October 26, 1953. And whereas a Knoxville television station beat WJHL to air by nearly a month, making WJHL the second station to sign on in the state of Tennessee and the first in the Tri-Cities region. And whereas in 1954, the WJHL transmitter was relocated to Buffalo Mountain, and in 1969 was again moved to Holston Mountains. And whereas in 1964, the Lancaster sold WJHL to Roy H. Park Broadcasting, which was later named Park Communications in the 1970s. And whereas Media General acquired Park Communications and WJHL in 1997. And whereas on February 1, 2016, WJHL began broadcasting ABC programming and providing news on WJHL Channel 11.2. And whereas in 2017, Nexstar Media Group acquired Media General and WJHL. And whereas the WJHL main studio is located at 338 East Main Street in downtown Johnson City and serves the region as an affiliate of CBS and ABC, also operating news bureaus in Kingsport, Bristol, and Greenville. And whereas WJHL currently employs roughly 82 people, reaches 330,900 households in our designated market area, and serves Washington, Sullivan, Greene, Carter, Unicoi, Johnson, and Hawkins counties in Tennessee, along with Washington, Smith, Scott, Smith, Scott, Russell, Buchanan, Dickinson, Wise, and Lee counties in Virginia, as well as Leslie and Letcher counties in Kentucky. And whereas WJHL brings viewers a combined 8.5 hours of local news, weather, and sports every Monday through Friday on WJHL Channel 11 and WJHL Channel 11.2, also providing news, weather, and sports coverage on weekends and extended coverage on special events throughout the year. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim May 24th, 2023 as WJHL Day, to be commemorated by broadcasting throughout the day live from Bristol, Tennessee, in celebration of 70 years on the air in our county, the second day of May 2023.
Well, now that you have our brief history, we hope you join us on the 24th. We'll be broadcasting live at Bristol Bagel Bakery in the morning from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. and the Paramount in the afternoon. Come out, see how we work on a live newscast, and come get some free shirts. So we'll see you then.
All right, next we have a proclamation for Economic Development Week, designating May 8th. And I will read this, and we have Mr. Matt Garland in attendance to accept this. Whereas the International Economic Development Council is the largest professional economic development organization dedicated to serving economic developers, and whereas economic developers promote economic well-being and quality of life for their communities by creating, retaining, and expanding jobs that facilitate growth, enhance wealth, and provide a stable tax base. Economic developers stimulate and incubate entrepreneurism to help establish the next generation of new businesses, which is a hallmark of the American economy. Economic developers attract and retain high-quality jobs, develop vibrant communities, and improve the quality of life in their regions. Whereas the Industrial Development Board works alongside in support of the city's economic development team, providing diverse experience, expertise, and leadership. Therefore, be it resolved, the mayor of the city of Bristol, Tennessee proclaims May 8th as Economic Development Week. Is Matt up?
Thank you all very much for this recognition. We appreciate it very much, but I wouldn't be standing up here without a great team that includes you all with your dynamic vision and guidance that you have for us. A lot of exciting things going on in the world of economic development right now for our city and our community, and many more things to come. Special thanks to our partners with the State of Tennessee ECD, TVA, USDA Rural Development, BTES, Network Sullivan Partnership, and again, you all. Without this, we couldn't make it happen, so thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, next we have a proclamation designating May the 14th as National Police Week. I'd like to ask Vice Mayor Mark Hutton to read the proclamation, and we have Chief Matt Austin to accept.
Fantastic. Whereas there are more than 900,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department. Whereas there were 43,649 assaults against law enforcement officers in 2021, resulting in approximately 15,369 injuries. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 23,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty. And whereas the names of these dedicated public servants are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas 556 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 224 officers killed in 2022 and 332 officers that died in previous years, whose sacrifice are now being recognized after research staff confirmed the circumstances of their death and their record of law enforcement service. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 35th Annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2023. And whereas the Candlelight Vigil is part of the events for the National Police Week, which takes place this year on May 14th through 20th, 2023. And whereas May 15th, 2023 is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags shall be flown at half-staff. Therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor of the City of Bristol, Tennessee formally designates May 14th through 20th, 2023 as Police Week, and May 15th, 2023 as Peace Officers Memorial Day in the City of Bristol, Tennessee, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and communities across this nation. The second day of May, 2023, a signature by Mayor Vince Turner.
Again, thank you, Mayor, Council. It is an extreme honor to be here tonight representing the great men and women of the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department. And we wholeheartedly thank you for your thoughts to do this proclamation for Police Week. You know, we can look around the world and sometimes look at the dangers and the things that happen throughout the world. We're blessed that we live in a community that really supports us, that we work together as a community in a wonderful partnership that that happens. But we also know, because again, looking at the police memorial and the names that are added to that wall, it is sad to announce that we do have names from the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department on that memorial wall, which shows still the dangers that are here each and every day. And I can say, as the chief of this department, we have very dedicated men and women that come out each and every day, that don this uniform to complete the work. And again, as a partner with the community, to create an environment that we can succeed, that we can have fun, that we can learn, and that our city can grow. So I stand here again tonight representing the police department, the Bristol, Tennessee Police Department, and I can say to you tonight and every day forward from here, we have dedicated men and women that will don this uniform to protect each and every one of us as partners. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next we have a proclamation designating May 21st through 27th as Emergency Medical Services Week in Bristol. I'd like to ask Councilwoman Lee Powers to read the proclamation, and Lieutenant Nathan Johnson of the Bristol, Tennessee Fire Department is here to accept.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas emergency medical services is a vital public service, and knowing the members of emergency medical services teams are ready to provide life-saving care to those in need 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and realizing that access to quality emergency care dramatically improves the survival and recovery rate of those who experience sudden illness or injury. Whereas the emergency medical services system consists of first responders, emergency medical technicians, paramedics, emergency medical dispatchers, firefighters, police officers, educators, administrators, pre-hospital nurses, emergency physicians, trained members of the public, and other out-of-hospital medical care providers. It is important that we note that the members of emergency medical services teams, whether career or volunteer, engage in thousands of hours of specialized training and continuing education to enhance their life-saving skills. And we are delighted and believe strongly that it is appropriate to recognize the value and the accomplishments of emergency medical services providers by designating Emergency Medical Services Week. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee proclaims May 21st through 27th of 2023 as Emergency Medical Services Week, with the theme EMS Week, where emergency care begins. I encourage the community to observe this week with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities, and if nothing less, to congratulate and thank our emergency responders. This is the second day of May 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council, city manager, and staff for your recognition of this proclamation. EMS makes up a big portion of our day-to-day business within the fire department, and we are honored and privileged to serve the citizens of our city with some of the highest quality of care seen in a pre-hospital setting. So on behalf of the Bristol, Tennessee Fire Department and the men and women that make it up, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, next we have a proclamation designating May 21st through 27th as National Public Works Week. I'd like to ask Councilman Malin Luttrell to read the proclamation, and we have Mr. Russell Whitaker, the Fleet Maintenance Supervisor, is with us to accept the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facilities, and services that are of vital importance to sustainability and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of Bristol, Tennessee. And whereas these infrastructure, facilities, and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees at all levels of government and the private sector. who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other infrastructure and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is the public interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in Bristol, Tennessee to gain knowledge of and to maintain ongoing interest and understanding the importance of public works and the public works programs in their community. And whereas the year 2023 marks the 63rd Annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now therefore be it resolved that the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee proclaims May 21 through 27, 2023 is National Public Works Week. All citizens are urged to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our public works professionals, engineers, managers, and employees, and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protect our national health, safety, and quality of life.
On behalf of the men and women of our public works, we want to thank you for this proclamation. Often, these folks are behind the scenes working, and this recognition is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, finally, we have a proclamation designating May 7th through the 13th as Drinking Water Week. I would like to ask Councilwoman Margaret Firerobin to read, and we have Mr. Mark Quickle, the water plant superintendent, is with us to accept the proclamation.
Thank you. Whereas water is our most valuable natural resource, and whereas drinking water serves a vital role in daily life, serving an essential purpose to health, hydration, and hygiene needs for the quality of life of our citizens to enjoy, and whereas tap water delivers public health protection, fire protection, support for our economy, and the quality of life we enjoy. And whereas the hard work performed by the entire water sector, designing capital projects, operators ensuring safety and quality drinking water, or a member of a pipe crew maintaining the infrastructure communities rely on to transport high-quality drinking water from its source to customers and taps. And whereas the coronavirus pandemic has shown a light on the importance of drinking water for health. Do you need some water? Drinking water for health, hydration, and hygiene needs. And whereas we are all stewards of the water infrastructure upon which current and future generations depend. And whereas the citizens of our city are called upon to help protect our source waters from pollution, practice water conservation, and get involved with their water by familiarizing themselves with it. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Mayor of Bristol, Tennessee, does hereby proclaim May 7 through 13, 2023 as Drinking Water Week. This second day of May, 2023, Vince Turner, Mayor.
On behalf of the water plant staff and utility staff, I'd like to thank Council, Mayor Turner, for this proclamation, recognition of the hard work, the time that's put in to ensure that our community has healthy, safe, reliable drinking water. So thank you all and look forward to continuing the service for years to come. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, next it is with great appreciation that I would like to congratulate our utility department for receiving a score of 98 out of 100 from the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation Division of Water Supply for the latest sanitary survey of our water system. This is one of the highest ratings in the state. I would like to recognize Director of Utility Services, Will Witcher, Water Plant Superintendent, Mark Quickle, Utility Maintenance Superintendent, Frank Neal, and the entire Utility Service Division for a job well done. Mr. Witcher, Mr. Quickle, would you guys like to say a few words?
Mayor, members of council, we do appreciate this recognition. The sanitary survey is something that comes about for us every couple of years, and it's kind of a scorecard on how we're doing and how our operations are going. And this one was delayed a little bit due to the COVID pandemic, and we got it after 3 years from the previous one. So it's a testament to the dedication of our staff. You mentioned our superintendents, Don Venable, also our construction superintendent, and then we have 34 full-time staff members in our department who are highly dedicated to their jobs and highly professional. So it's a testimony. They're our greatest resource. We have great drinking water, but our greatest asset is our staff and our people, and we do appreciate their dedication. And thank you all for the recognition. So.
Thank you. All right, last but certainly not least, the city wishes to recognize 24 Tennessee high school students for participating in and graduating from the inaugural Communiversity Youth and Public Service Program. We wish to encourage each of the participants to be part of their community and to take an active role because the youth of today are the leaders of tomorrow. The students, their families, the school system, and the city staff are to be commended for working together, learning, and striving to ensure Bristol continues not only a good, but a great place to live. Community Relations Director John Luttrell will give us a brief overview of the program and present the graduates.
Thank you, Mayor Turner, Ms. Bourgeois, members of council. So we've likely all been to a commencement ceremony where the speaker, in searching for inspiration for their remarks, they'll turn to the dictionary for the definition of a word like success or determination or purpose. And as such, I thought it was only fitting to turn to Webster's to delve into the deeper significance of the term communiversity. I was quickly disappointed when I remembered that communiversity is in fact not a real word, but searching for a way to begin my comments this evening, I set the dictionary aside and turned to the next great guiding document of our culture, the City of Bristol fiscal year 2022 and 2023 annual budgets, and specifically the goals and objectives section. In it, the Community Relations Department was tasked to study and implement youth involvement through a youth council. This effort should provide their engagement in local government with the goal of enhancing student awareness of the role of local government in the community and potential career paths available. Fast forward to October of 2022, when our inaugural cohort of participants would begin a 6-month process of exploring the processes and the people at the heart of what allows this organization, our city, to function. They began by learning from Parks and Rec staff, most notably Craig the Corn Snake, that our Parks and Recreation Department are stewards of far more in our community than just a little over 24 city parks and as many miles of trails winding through the knobs around Steel Creek, but of multi-generational recreation programming and one of the most biodiverse ecosystems in the country. That afternoon, they donned some turnout gear and saw the city from the perspective of our fire department, whether behind the nozzle of a hand line, amid the advanced life-saving equipment used by the EMTs and paramedics aboard our ambulances, or looking down from an aerial apparatus 100 feet in the air. In November, they spent a whirlwind day learning about nearly every aspect of our police department, from 911 communications to criminal investigations, explosive ordnance disposal to drone technology, canine units to street crimes, and even how to breach a door and clear a room with the SWAT team. Following some end-of-semester holiday cheer, they were back at it in January with our Public Works Division. In the span of a single school day, they came away knowing how our crews worked to remove snow, or as our friends from the North and Midwest call it, snow, as well as how to repair a water line, change the tire on a police cruiser, pilot a brand new side loader to collect neighborhood trash, hopefully just the trash and not the entire can going into the truck, operate an excavator, and test the quality of the water straight out of the Holston River. They also came away with one of the coolest souvenirs I've ever seen that I'm only marginally still jealous of, and that is their very own street signs. February would then prove to be a rather interesting session. First, we were most graciously hosted by April Eads and all of our friends at Bristol, Tennessee Essential Services. Not only did they learn about the shocking array of services and careers represented by BTES, and that will be the end of my electricity puns for the evening, but they saw how our utility providers play an integral part in the immense behind-the-scenes work carried out by our community development and economic development teams. From the groundwork laid by our planning and zoning staff to ensure safe, responsible development, to the efforts of our economic developers to promote our community assets that make Bristol such an attractive place to start or grow a business. They discovered just how much work is put in before ground can be broken and ribbons can be cut. In discussing the community assets they would want to see in Bristol, an interesting common theme emerged. There was a clear desire for a dedicated community space just for them, a teen center, to use a somewhat reductive term, but a space not geared toward any one particular activity, social group, or commercial transaction, but a safe space of their own to congregate where they are simply free to be, along with some amenities, but we'll talk more about that in a minute. In March, following a truly paranoia-inducing yet highly beneficial discussion on cybersecurity from our IT department, they bravely forged into the territory that our entire organization is currently navigating: finance and budget. After playing some prices right to guess the retail value of items like trench compactors, freshly trained canines, and highway salt, we put them into groups and asked them how they would carve up the city's roughly $31 million general fund budget pie. A few of the groups came up with a solution that I think actually could save City Council a lot of time over the next month or so. Just divide it evenly among all the departments and call it a day. That works, especially for me. That works great. We then finished up by sharing a bit how our team, community relations, supports all the other city departments through event planning, marketing, public relations, communications, and staring down the barrel of one of the most lethal weapons of all, a camera. Then, before we knew it, it was already April and time for the Communiversity experience to be tied together in summation. In collaboration with Mr. Eric Bluestein and his Bristol-based experiential training and marketing firm, Kudzu Creative, a pair of role-playing scenarios were constructed to put their knowledge to the test. First, they were divided into teams to develop competing project proposals for the Teen Center idea, all the way from site selection to design, construction, staffing, budgeting, and lastly, pitching their ideas for consideration of city funding to help subsidize their efforts. City Council will be relieved to hear that their funding requests were fairly modest, ranging only from around $120,000 to roughly $9.3 million. It turns out that rock climbing walls, silent discos, and food courts can be expensive. So. That afternoon, we shifted gears completely, assigning them to teams representing the various departments they'd learned about and placing the decision-making power in their hands to respond to an impending winter weather emergency. The interdepartmental dynamics played out eerily true to life, such as community relations being in everyone's business, asking for information. And believe it or not, there was even some territorial friction between the police and fire departments, which certainly never happens in real life, ever. Most importantly, the cybersecurity lecture stuck, and the team representing BTES foiled an attempted cyber attack in the middle of a winter storm by simply not clicking the link in a sketchy email. So, good job. In between these two exercises, our students were treated to an overview by our legal department of how exactly our government is structured in order for decisions to be made and for all of this work to happen. They also heard from Mayor Turner, who offered his insights on what it's like to be the symbolic face and voice of this organization and why he first felt led to serve. In short, if I may kind of summarize the remarks you shared with them, you wanted to have a hand in building the kind of community that your own daughter would be proud to call home. It was appropriate that they heard from Mayor Turner at that session and got to meet Ms. Bourgeois this evening, as all the way back in October they heard from then Mayor Luttrell and Mr. Sora, along with the explanation that the people in those two roles at the start of their program would in all likelihood not be the same at its conclusion, a testament to the fact that the work we do together as a city extends far beyond any one person or department. The same is true for all of the work that was done to bring this program from a goal printed in a budget book to the experience of the group of students with us here tonight. I've already spoken far too long, and I understand there are several other agenda items between me, adjournment, and being able to dig into the popcorn bags once we get outside. But before I call the names of our Community Youth and Public Service graduates, there are a few folks that I would like to thank, if I may. First, to Lorianne English. Lorianne was a Tennessee High work-based learning student placed in our office in the fall of 2022, whose priceless input in shaping this program ensured that a positive student experience remained its central focus. To April Eads at BTES, and to Amy Shuttle at the Bristol Chamber of Commerce, who were always willing to offer guidance and lessons learned from their years of experience overseeing programs like Teacher Industry Day and Bristol Youth Leadership. To Dr. Tudor, Dr. Scott, Dr. Coleman, and the rest of the Bristol, Tennessee City Schools administration team for having faith that this program was a worthwhile use of student time away from the classroom and for entrusting us with their care. To Principal Kim Kirk, Deidre Penley, Andrew Cross, Brad Morlock, Shannon Silvers, and other Tennessee High staff who worked so diligently to navigate logistics, ensure the program met curricular goals, and recruit a phenomenal group of students. To Dale Miller with our transit division for safely transporting our students on program days on that big, beautiful bus that he drives around Bristol. And to all of the city staff who poured their hearts into making this a memorable experience for our students. And last but far from least, two people who I say with zero hyperbole that this program could not and would not have happened without, and that's Ann Dunham and Jema Helbert, along with the rest of the community relations team. So, without any further ado, I present to you the Community Youth and Public Service 2023 graduates. They were presented their certificates during a reception earlier this evening, but those who are present, if you would please stand as I call your name. Alex Akerd, Lexi Arnold, Caitlin Bingham, Allison Dye, Emily Dye, Bella Fry, Mia Gajewski, Isabel Gross, Abby Grubbs, Ulissa Martinez, Tamara Merrill, Ariana Miller, Haley Miller, Macy Miner, Keely Oti, Adam Peel, Avery Riffey, Carly Rhines, Ada Ritchie, Azeneth Rodriguez, Liz Rouse, Amelia Schultz, Audrey Stroud, and Ty Waters. So please join me in congratulating our graduates.
Hey, John, would you ask them if they would like to come up here and get a photo? If everybody could just scoot in.
Want to wrap around behind our city council members here, we'll grab a quick photo.
Yeah, we'll just sit. Kind of come on.
Probably need to make two runs.
You are highly challenged. Come to the front.
Thank you.
Well, that's
Automatically challenged.
Everybody on this side turn this way. Everybody on this side kind of turn in, and your shoulders in. Yeah, turn in, and your shoulders in. There you go.
Thank you all. Okay, we have no presentations this evening. Next up is our Board of Education report. Dr. Tudor?
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you, Ms. Bourgeois, to the city of Bristol and for taking on this wonderful task of running our city. I look very much forward to getting to know you better, but also getting to collaborate with you on such wonderful initiatives like Communiversity. I'd like to say thank you. I know John went through a list of folks, but really John is the person we need to be thanking at this moment. He deserves a round of applause. Not only is he very witty, as you all know very well, but he's extremely detail-oriented, organized, diligent, and really, as you could tell from his comments, he worked very hard to make sure our students had the best experience ever. If you've ever worked with high schoolers, you know they can bore very easily. All children can, but certainly high schoolers. I have one of my own, so I know how quickly he can bore of things. And so I think the tasks that were presented for them, very hands-on oriented, not only gave them a good picture of what city government is all about, but kept them really engaged and very interested. I've heard nothing but very positive comments about it. So thank you for taking on that initiative and for letting our students be a part of that. And I hope it's bigger and better every year for our students. I'd also like to thank Councilwoman Fire Robin for attending some of our recent board meetings, work sessions, those sorts of things. At a recent meeting, Ms. Fire Robin requested that we share some information with you. We've been doing a quarterly newsletter for our families this year. So I just wanted to give you a heads up. The next one of those will come out later this month, and so we're going to try to make sure that you all get that information and so you can keep informed about the goings-on in our school district. So that is coming later. I'm excited to announce, I don't know if Ms. Penley's still here. I'm excited to announce that we have another pre-apprenticeship program that we will be revealing on Friday in a press conference. This one is with Seaman Corporation, also with RCAM and Tennessee Labor and Workforce Development Division. I think BTES is involved in that as well. So thank you very much for that. This is our second manufacturing pre-apprenticeship, and we will actually have 3 students involved in this one with Seaman Corporation. So I'm very excited about that opportunity. Also want to express that we have 9 students, 8 Tennessee high school students, 1 Tennessee Online Public School student who will be receiving their associate's degree from Northeast State next week, a week prior to graduating from high school. So that is the inaugural class from Northeast State who will receive that. So very proud of those students. And I just want to point out all the things that you all heard from city government. We have equal opportunities for our students to really take advantage of anything that they wish to do, whether it's college and university or entering the workforce and city government or city employment, whatever it is they desire to do. I think we have a host of opportunities for our students right here. So I'm very proud of that and proud of the partnership and support we get for that. Last thing, just a couple of things to let you know. We're in our last 3 weeks of school in this school year, if you can believe it. We concluded TN Ready testing last week. We're in AP testing this week and next week. Then we have class night on May 11th. Our senior walk annually is on May 18th. Tennessee high school graduation is May 19th. Tennessee online public school graduation is May 20th. And then the last 2 weeks of school, elementary and middle school, have a host of their honor celebration. So you can visit any of our school websites or the district website to find specific information about any of those events. You all are certainly welcome to attend those. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any for me.
Thank you so much.
Just one last thing I forgot to acknowledge. I have new school board member Debbie Darnell here with me this evening, so she's just visiting.
Welcome. Okay, next, we have two public hearings on tonight's agenda. The first is on ordinance 23-5. The public hearing is hereby open for ordinance 23-5, amending the city's ordinance to add full-service restaurants and limited-service eating places as uses permitted by special use permit in R3 multifamily districts. Ms. Bourgeois, would you please summarize this matter for the public?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. In your packet, you have information that was provided to the Planning Commission. There was discussion at their January and February meetings where they heard from a couple of applicants looking to establish a restaurant in the Bristol Country Club area. And at the Planning Commission meeting, they did consider options. This is for only an ordinance amendment to the zoning ordinance. This is not a rezone at this time. The Planning Commission did forward a favorable recommendation to add the food service uses as a special use permit in the R3 multifamily zoning district. And Director of Community Development, Sheriff Young, is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mrs. Bourgeois. Good evening, Mayor Turner, City Council members. I'll just briefly highlight the red line changes in the ordinance. And as stated in the introduction, this is just a ordinance change, not a vote or a review of a specific project, such as the brewery that's been a topic of discussion there on the Country Club property. Although Mr. Woodson is here tonight, and we possibly may have a couple residents in the audience from Terra Hills, I did receive 2 calls from residents in Terra Hills just to discuss the ordinance. But what you have on the screen here is just the red line changes that will be made to the R3 district upon if this ordinance is passed this evening. We will add full-service restaurants and limited-service eating places as a special use permit item in the R3 zone. So that would mean that if someone wished to pursue a development project for a restaurant in the R3 zone, they would have to file a special use permit application that's reviewed by the Planning Commission before it would be approved. The ordinance does contain some additional criteria that the Planning Commission can review when they're looking at an application. So there's the standard special use permit criteria, looking at ingress, egress, required yards and buffering, parking, signage, general compatibility with the neighborhood. But this ordinance change would allow some additional items where they can look at hours of operation and then also impact of outdoor activities such as outdoor dining, amplification of music, and then potential outdoor performances should a restaurant or a cafe have a band or something like that as an amenity offered. So this is the red line copy. You have a clean copy of this changes in your package. One other item to mention, the special use permit would mandate that the property under consideration be located on a collector or arterial road. So these special uses could not be back within a neighborhood on a residential street. They would have to be on a collector or arterial road as defined on the approved major road plan map. And roads, of course, Volunteer Parkway, West State Street, but then roads like Old Jonesboro and King College Road would also be roads that would be considered either collector in those cases or arterial road. The Planning Commission did review this and on March 20th voted to forward a favorable recommendation to City Council on these changes. And I will be happy to answer any questions should you all have any.
Okay, is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak to council on this matter? Okay, please come to the podium and state your name and your address, please.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Kaufman. I live on 6038 Old Jonesboro Road, just right across the street and a couple of houses down from any restaurant or whatever would go into this change in rezoning. My concern is that it's not a commercial site. It's strictly residential. If it's supposed to be, if any restaurant going in here is supposed to be a community restaurant, or, you know, walk down to the corner and grab a bite or get a beer or something, Old Jonesboro Road has no sidewalks. There is one crosswalk between Terra Hills and the country club, but it's two very faded white lines. There are two signs about 20 feet on either side of that. There's no cross marks, there's no flashing light. It would be very unsafe, which means people are gonna have to walk, they're gonna have to drive to get to whatever establishment this would be. Traffic on Old Jonesboro Road can be tricky. At certain times of the day, it's difficult to get across. In fact, in the 25 years I've lived there, I've only seen 2 people cross from Terra Hills over to the country club. That doesn't mean, you know, that more people don't. It's just that, you know, the old joke, if a man loads a dishwasher and nobody sees him do it, did he really do it? You know, I've only seen 2. That's gonna bring more traffic. During race week, the trash that gets thrown out of cars onto the median there, you know, is exponentially greater on, you know, so with more trash, more people going to whatever restaurant would be there. The city doesn't pick up that trash. The country club doesn't pick up the trash. Lifestyle Fitness does not pick up the trash. The residents of Terra Hills picks up the trash. And, you know, it gets a little old, but we do it because we want it to look nice. My only other comment is, I know the speed limit on that section of Old Jonesboro was 35 miles an hour, but people don't travel 35 miles an hour. It's a lot faster than that, and I'm just afraid of the safety of everybody concerned. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this matter? Okay, please come to the podium and state your name and address, please.
Good evening. I'm Ann McAllister. I have lived in one of the townhouses in Terra Hills since 93, I'm sorry. The traffic has gotten unbearable on Old Jonesboro, and we have an access road, of course, that runs parallel to Old Jonesboro. But the speed limit is supposed to be 35 miles an hour. It more often is 45 miles an hour, and growing every day. I was hit from behind the end of March, trying to make a right turn into Galway, to my home. The traffic line was continuous in front of me and behind me. And when I had to make a quick stop because somebody decided to make a left turn at the last minute, a young man behind me rammed into my car. This is only going to be the beginning of an enormous increase in traffic on Old Jonesboro. It's a residential area. There are homes on both sides of this plan, well, actually all the way around where this restaurant is being planned. We're also concerned about almost every restaurant today has outdoor dining, and along with outdoor dining comes music. And, you know, we try to sleep at night. We try to relax in a quiet residential area. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be, the traffic is going to be horrendous, not to mention the fact that I'm sure there will be alcohol served right beside a the access road is supposed to be. That's, I understand they're not going to allow another driveway or access into this. It has to go, I'm assuming, through the entrance to the present country club entrance. I can't even imagine what the traffic is going to be like coming from Terra Hills, going through Old Jonesboro, and in and out of that tiny little entrance into the country club. It's going to be a nightmare for us. Please don't allow a restaurant to go in there. I would appreciate it.
Is there anyone else? Okay, please state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hello, everybody. My name is Adam Woodson. I was the one that kind of brought this up into the attention of City Council, and I'm not the only one that will benefit from this, but I believe the city as a whole will benefit from this. If you go to other cities and stuff like that, I just got back from a weekend in Charlotte, and you know, there are residential areas where there are apartment buildings going up and restaurants, bars, breweries, coffee houses in the bottom of those things. It's all growing up. They're not making any more land, and so you know, I don't want to bring more traffic to areas. I hope we are as busy as everybody is scared we might be. But you know, this is not a Quaker Steak and Lube. This is not an O'Mannon's. This is an upscale place that really fits the country club and that community. And I want to bring something really nice to the area that I think will benefit everybody and be a crown jewel for that area instead of a thorn in its side. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay.
Mark Byington, 5833 Old Jonesboro Road, Bristol, Tennessee. I've spoken with the owner or the proposal of doing it. Like a lot of us, I grew up out at the country club. We've had a restaurant and bar out there forever. A lot of us are looking forward to having a place like that to keep, I mean, in the nicest way, but to keep from driving back over the other side of town. Yes, there's some traffic issues. Yes, the police department are doing a great job trying to slow these people down. And like I said, we're looking forward to getting something out there again. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. The second public hearing is on Resolution 23-38. This public hearing is hereby open for Resolution 23-38, adopting a Community Development Block Grant Action Plan and approving the submission of the action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to request CDBG grant funding and home funding in 2023-2024. Ms. Bourgeois, would you summarize this for the public?
Actually, Christina Blevins, our
Okay, Christina.
development specialist, is here. She's got a great PowerPoint presentation for you. So,
thank you, Mayor, members of the council. As you know, I'm Christina Blevins, and I am pleased to present to you tonight our 2023 action plan for 2 of our 4 current federal programs. Let's see, we are in our 4th year of our 5-year consolidated plan. And this is just some very basic information that some of you may or may not know about, but the Community Development Block Grant Program was created by HUD in 1974, and Bristol has actually been a part of the program since 1976, so well over, 47 years? And of course, we are a division, one of the longest running in HUD. All right, so these are the only 3 activities that the Community Development Block Grant can do. Activities that directly benefit persons of low to moderate income, activities which aid in the elimination of slums and blight, and activities designed to meet community development needs having a particular urgency. That sounds a little vague, but this is funding for an urgent program that this is the last resort kind of funding. So you have tried everywhere else, and you can prove to HUD that there is no other funding available, then you can use CDBG. Okay, so this year our allocation is as follows. We are getting around $223,363. That is before program income and does not include the carryover funds that I will mention to you in just a minute. Our housing rehab and reconstruction program has in the past been our most utilized program. So we like to put a portion or the most of that money into rehab and reconstruction. Then public services, HUD allows us to present them with a 15% public service allowance each year that we can kind of choose activities within the community that we feel are of importance. The YWCA Child Care Center has a sliding scale daycare program for parents who do work, and they help 12 families a year. It's a very great program. They do an excellent job. And then Family Promise of Bristol has a place to be. We pay for about $8,500 of a case manager to work there and help the folks. Demo and clearance, you'll see there that is not getting reallocation because demo and clearance already has carryover. Let's see, I'm going to tell you the exact number we have. $43,775 in there. And then, of course, our sidewalks are not getting new funding either because we also have additional carryover of approximately $62,000 that our city is still working on sidewalk projects in low to moderate income areas of the city. Program administration, $44,672. Our projected program carryover is approximately $215,000, and then our projected program income for 2023-24 year is about $10,000. Okay, that's CDBG. So the Northeast Tennessee Virginia Home Consortium, a little bit of history on that is it started as the National Affordable Housing Act of 1990. The intent of the home program is to provide decent affordable housing to low-to-income households, lower-income households, expand the capacity of nonprofit housing providers, strengthen the ability of the state and local governments to provide housing, and last but not least, leverage private sector participation. It's a fun grant. We are the lead administrators for this grant, but we also work with the First Tennessee Development District to administer the program over throughout the whole region. They are awesome to work with, and we could not do this program without their help. Okay. The Home Consortium votes on their percentages of how much they want to divvy up the money each year. As you will see, HUD requires community housing development organizations, also called CHODOs, to receive a minimum of 15% of the entire allotment each year. So we are expected to get a $1.292 million this year. Both of these are very relative to what we've received in years past. The CHODO receives 15%. Bristol, Tennessee will receive 11%. Bristol, Virginia, 9%. Kingsport, 23%. Johnson City, 27%. Bluff City always gets a flat $10,000. Sullivan County at 17%. Washington County at 13%. And of course, our admin for both the development district and the city is around 10%. Approximate carryover currently for that program is a little over $3 million, and we are expecting to receive program income recaptured funds in about $80,000. So this is the second required public hearing, and we have a 30-day public comment period. People can pick up the plan at the library. They can pick them up at the Bristol Housing Office. Slater Community Center, our office at Community Development and Planning, and then of course it is online at bristoltn.org and the First Tennessee Development District website. I will say that both the Community Development Advisory Committee and the Northeast Tennessee Virginia Home Consortium have approved the plan and have made your recommendation to this evening. There was a thank you there, but it's not there anymore.
Thank you.
So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Is there anyone in attendance that would like to speak on this matter? Seeing none, this public hearing is closed. All right, next we have the appearance of citizens. I believe that we only have one. Ms. Kaufman, I guess when you spoke during the public hearing, is that what you, okay. Is there anyone else in attendance that would like to speak on any other matter that is not on our current agenda? Okay, seeing none. Going to appointments. We have 2 appointments for the Community Development Advisory Committee with terms running through April 20th, 2026. The 3 candidates are Raymond Hill, Benjamin Marshall, and Shauna Webb to fill the 2 seats. Would anyone like to speak on behalf of any of the candidates?
I'll be glad to speak. We have 2 incumbents and somebody who's put their name in for a first time, and we always want to thank folks for participating, and it's pretty exciting. All 3 look like they're great candidates. Raymond Hill serves, this would be, I think, his 2nd term, and he serves on the Edgemont Towers or Bristol Housing Board. That's right, the whole board, not the Residency Council. And Shauna Nefos Webb is, it'd be her 2nd term, and she is does stuff with social services, a professor at Milligan College. And then the new one, Benjamin Marshall, has mental health training and worked in the field of mental health. So any of the 3 would be qualified, and I'm glad to have all of them to apply.
Thank you. Councilmember Feierabend is Raymond Hill and Shauna Nefos Webb. Councilmember Luttrell, Raymond Hill. And Shauna Nefos Webb. Vice Mayor Hutton, Raymond Hill, and Benjamin Marshall. Councilmember Powers, Raymond Hill, and Shauna Nefos Webb. And Mayor Turner has Raymond Hill and Shauna Nefos Webb. So we have Hill at 5 and Shauna Nefos Webb at 4.
Okay. All right, congratulations to those 2, and thank you for putting your name in. All right, next we have 2 ordinances and 4 resolutions on tonight's agenda. The first item is ordinance 23-4, abandoning a portion of Odessa Drive as a public right-of-way as requested by Dr. and Mrs. Green. City Manager Bourgeois, would you summarize this issue for us?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. This request for abandonment of a right-of-way is for just a small portion of a lot that Dr. and Mrs. Green own. They've been working through this for a bit of time, and I'll turn that over to our city attorney, Danielle Smith. Oh, I'm sorry. Director of Community Development, Sheriff Young will take care of this one.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'll be brief since we've gone through this 1 or 2 times now already, but as Mrs. Bourgeois stated, this is a request that came to us from Dr. and Mrs. Green, who reside in the home here at 105 Odessa Drive. Dr. and Mrs. Green also own additional properties on Odessa Drive, so they own properties across the street here, and then of course this entire parcel here. So the little issue here, the right-of-way abandonment. The right-of-way is no longer needed for the 3 lots that were here previously, since the Greens did purchase all 3 lots and build their home kind of here in the center of the parcel. And also, since they own all of the parcels across the street, the abandonment of this little square will not impact additional or adjacent property owners. We did run this through the typical right-of-way abandonment process. No issues were identified with any of the applicable utilities in the area. The Planning Commission did review this in February and voted to send a positive recommendation to City Council on the request. And just very briefly, I'll show, this is the 3 lots that did make up the parcel that the Greens home now sits on. So that shows just a little area that was almost designed to function as a little cul-de-sac for 3 lots there that would be abandoned should this ordinance be approved.
Does any member of council have questions for staff? Not, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve ordinance 2024 to abandon a portion of Odessa Drive as a public right-of-way.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Would any member of council like to discuss this? Seeing none, Mary Lee, can we call the roll?
Yes.
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 Okay, next is, the second item is ordinance 23-5, ordinance amending the zoning ordinance to add full-service restaurants and limited-service eating places to the R3 zoning district. Staff summarized this issue during the public hearing earlier this evening. Does any member of council have a question for staff? Is there a motion?
So move to adopt ordinance 23-5.
Is there a second?
I'll second to adopt the ordinance to amend the zoning ordinance.
Okay, is there any discussion? I actually have some things that do you,
I can go first if you want. I just appreciate Ms. Kaufman and Ms. McAllister coming forward and talking about their concerns, and I think that they certainly are valid concerns that if as things develop, providing crosswalks or walkways or whatever need to be looked at, the speed limit. Also, we just have talked once or twice briefly, but I think it's important for us as we look at what is on our goals and our workload for future. Old Jonesboro Road has been an area that's been developing, and it is awful. There's not much of a shoulder along, not just that section. But I think at some point we need to absolutely put that on for study, for looking at what is the traffic amount, how can we make any improvements to make it safer. Also, we know pedestrian and biking are good for us. They're good exercise. They're also good transportation. And right now, it's just not safe to walk in that area. So, so I hope that we will take their concerns seriously and put that more on our work agenda to be able to move forward. But for this project, assuming that it goes forward, I too think it's exciting. It's a great development. And I know I've been part of resistance to some changes in the past that some of the things didn't come true with traffic, et cetera. So I would hope that, that especially with some attention, that it can be a very positive development for our community.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do you want to go last?
Oh.
I just want to have 30
Okay.
seconds.
Okay.
I also want to thank you all for coming and speaking. I live in Forest Hills, so I don't live far from this part of town, and I did hear from some folks who live in Terre Hills and expressed these concerns, and they are valid concerns about the road and speed and crosswalks and all that. But I'm very grateful. Up until then, I hadn't heard any opposition until today. Most of the feedback I've gotten from folks is really positive about the potential of this restaurant going in and on that side of town. And that's an important thing for us to kind of have that balanced view. So I do want to appreciate you all for coming and speaking to that issue. Thank you.
I just had a few comments that I jotted down just so that everyone is clear. I want to assure the public that our staff, the Planning Commission, and this council, we have diligently considered the proper way to welcome this new business to the city of Bristol. The original proposal was located across from Holston View Elementary School, which was rejected by the Beer Board. Let me pause for a minute and talk about the business and clear the air regarding what the business actually is. The bottom line is a restaurant. It isn't a bar. It isn't just a brewery. Yes, they will indeed brew beer, but in order to do so, they must exist as a restaurant serving not just snacks, but a meal. The fact that beer will be brewed on the property doesn't make it any different than any of the numerous restaurants located throughout the city that serve alcoholic beverages, including the one that is currently operating on the same property. Regarding the property, there are two ways to address a restaurant being located here. Number one, a rezoning of the property to a commercial zone, which would have allowed a number of businesses to establish on the property without any additional rules or guidelines regarding how they operate. An amendment to the zoning ordinance to allow a restaurant and a restaurant only to operate if a special use permit is approved by the Planning Commission. Through the special use permit, the Planning Commission is enabled to adopt additional rules and requirements by which the restaurant must operate. These rules include areas such as restrictions on the hours of operation, noise, lighting, fencing, and other natural buffering, just to name a few. After careful consideration, our Planning Commission has recommended a special use permit rather than a rezoning in order to maintain the use of the property in exactly the same manner it has served the city for several decades. The Bristol Country Club was one of the oldest in the state. Restaurants and at one point a bar that had both served both beer, liquor, have existed on the property in the community for longer than most, if not all, the citizens have been alive. In fact, there is a restaurant that serves beer on the property now in exactly the same way as the proposed new restaurant will. It is the duty of council to ensure the Bristol encourages and supports businesses. That business only be regulated by the extent necessary to protect the general welfare of the public. So when you look at the facts, not speculation or personal opinion, we have before us a recommendation to continue to permit the operation of exactly the same type of business, a restaurant, not a bar, that has been on the property for decades, and to do so in a manner that regulates that restaurant more stringently than the restaurant that is in operation there today. And I do understand of the fact of with the traffic, and I believe that we can look into that, but I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood of the fact that this is of using it as a special use permit, that there are so many regulations that can be put into this that have to be abided by, and versus of rezoning this piece of property. So anyway, I just wanted to kind of clear that up for anyone in the public or anyone watching this evening. So,
and having said that, I serve on the Planning Commission, and we've looked at this over and over again. And to Ms. Hoffman and Ms. McAllister, I want to thank you for bringing your concerns forward, because it gives us an opportunity to go back and to look as to how we can not only further enhance the surrounding area for this business, but how we could further enhance to some degree the residential area to make it safer. I had never thought about a crosswalk, and my children spent some time out there growing up and going back and forth to friends' homes in Terra Hills, and a crosswalk is a good idea. The fact that there is trash out there, that's unacceptable. That's our responsibility as a city, is to see to it that that's taken care of. So you've brought up some really good points that I'm sure we'll go back to our planning commission and to our staff to take a look at. To Mayor Turner's point, he's absolutely right. By doing this the way that it's been done through the planning commission, it's very limiting as to what can go there, and the buffering and everything that will go around it. So change is sometimes hard, but change can bring about even better situations, and that's what we're hopeful for. Thank you.
Amen. Okay, the public had an opportunity to comment on this issue during the public hearing, so I believe we're ready for a vote, Mary.
Yes.
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 Okay, next we have Resolution 23-38, adopting a community development block grant action plan and approving the submission of the action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. Staff summarized this item during public hearing earlier, and is there any other further questions from staff? From council to staff?
I make a motion to approve Resolution 2338 for the Community Development Block Grant Action Plan.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Would any member of council like to discuss Resolution 23-38?
I just wanted to say thank you to Christina Blevins for the work that she does, and also just give this opportunity to note that housing is always and has been a pretty serious issue, but right now it's crisis mode for the lack of all kinds of housing, but particularly housing that's affordable, and a new term coined is workforce affordable. So these funds and this plan are critically important, but we also need more than what is provided here. But housing topics, et cetera, it's a lot. And I think Councilman Hutton is heading up that home consortium, and it's hard to get all those acronyms and get everything. So appreciate the work that Ms. Blevins does, and what we're able to do with the Community Development Block Grant dollars.
Okay. I believe we're ready for a vote, Mary Lee.
Yes.
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 Okay. I will be abstaining from the next resolution and would like to transfer the gavel to Vice Mayor Hutton for this resolution.
This next resolution is 23-39, approving a settlement agreement with 714 GP. Ms. Bourgeois, would you please summarize this matter for the public?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. Actually, I'm going to turn this over to Danielle Smith, our city attorney. I do want to thank her and Tom Anderson, our economic development director, for all of the work they did and going through the mediation to get to the settlement agreement that's before you tonight.
Good evening, Council, Vice Mayor Hutton. So to summarize the position that we're in right now, as you all know, we entered into a development agreement with 714 Shelby GP in August of 2021. We believe that 714 Shelby is in breach of that agreement. We believe they have not been able to complete the project that they agreed to complete, which was described in the development agreement. Now, I will say that 714 Shelby would likely dispute that characterization, because they probably believe that they should be allowed to complete a project. They presented a project to City Council, and City Council was not interested in pursuing that particular project. There is a dispute between the parties to the development agreement about who is right and who's wrong, and what remedies everybody might be entitled to. So having laid that groundwork, as you know, we presented a settlement agreement in December of 2022 that would have settled this matter for $585,000, with the property to be transferred back to the city with all plans and all claims between the parties released. City Council did not take action on that particular settlement agreement. After City Council had not taken action for a couple of months, the 714 Shelby GP asked for mediation under the agreement, which was their right, And so interim city manager at that point, Tom Anderson, and I attended a mediation on April 13th. At that time, we were able to negotiate a similar agreement to the one that was presented to you in December of 2022, but at a price of $400,000. And so the city would pay $400,000 in exchange for a release of all claims by 714 Shelby against the city and by the city against 714 Shelby. The property would be transferred back to the IDB, which would agree that they are going to hold the property in trust for the city. If City Council wants to retain control of this property and resolve this dispute quickly without incurring additional legal fees, then I would recommend entering into this settlement agreement. If, however, you want to achieve another goal, then the settlement agreement would not be the right way to get there. If you don't want to have to pay any money at this time, then you shouldn't approve the settlement agreement. Approving the settlement agreement, though, will cap your costs with respect to the development agreement, so we won't incur additional legal fees or court costs. It returns the property to us almost immediately. We would be prepared to close this week. And it puts you in a position to seek other projects and think further about how to best use this property and how best to incentivize any other project that comes along. If you don't want to agree to the settlement agreement tonight, then we would need to look at other options, which I assume would probably include a litigation option. So, having said that, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Does any member of council have questions for staff? Seeing none, is there a motion to take action on this item?
I'll make the motion to approve Resolution 2339, approving the settlement agreement with 714 Shelby.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any member of council wish to discuss Resolution 2339?
On this issue, I think we did talk about it quite a bit with getting more information, et cetera. And I am very interested in getting this property back on the market and have a plan. And in our downtown area, we have valued the character and characteristics of our downtown, and with that, we have in the past managed several properties with putting out a request for a proposal with asking for what we think is a good fit with our downtown properties. So I'm anxious to move this forward and have that opportunity again. So that's why I'm in support of this, to move forward.
I mean, this is one of those situations that, I think we've all spent a lot of time on. We've had a lot of heartburn, a lot of stomach aches. But in order to be able to move forward and move on without any potential additional costs, was this the best agreement that from the get-go? Probably not. Could we have done something different along the way? Probably should have. But here's where we're at. And in order to move forward, then I'm in favor of going ahead and approving the resolution.
And I'll just say that I will vote to approve the resolution this evening. I think we have grappled with this over the course of several years now. I think to note that we were full steam ahead, and I think the developers were hopeful to be full steam ahead prior to COVID. COVID happened. I'm not blaming COVID. I'm just stating that that was a part of this that slowed the project. I think someone once said to me through this process, the property itself, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for development. I took that very seriously and I'm not willing, I haven't been willing to hand it over to just happenstance. I think it's too important to our downtown. We have an historical downtown. It will come back to the IDB. I have great confidence in our staff that it'll be put back out on the street, and that an appropriate development plan will make its way to us that is in keeping with the historical value and integrity. I'm just not willing to lay it out there for anybody to take and to pursue. So given those circumstances and given the fact that we negotiated from $585,000 to $400,000, and given the fact that we have a construction grade parking lot, which we do need parking, I'll vote to support settling this so that we can move forward.
Thank you all. I will be the one dissenting vote. I don't like this at all. I recognize it is the best of a really bad situation. And I wasn't on council when this came about, although I was on the county commission at the time and heard about this project and had high hopes for it. And I think maybe it is the right way to go forward to get things moving forward, but it galls me to write a check for something that I believe, from my perspective, to be in default. But I do appreciate our staff working diligently to make the best of a bad situation, and I hope we can move forward and see something great on this lot. I think, Ms. Powers, you're right. It was a golden opportunity, and it's unfortunate that we're in the situation that we're in. But is there any more discussion or comments in regards to this? Okay. Seeing none, I believe we're ready for a vote. Mary Lee, would you please take the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
No. Thank you, Mayor. I turn it back to you.
Thank you. All right, next we have Resolution 23-40, authorizing entry into a memorandum of understanding related to the Bristol Public Library. Ms. Bourgeois, would you please summarize this matter for the public?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, members of the council. In your packet, you have a draft memorandum of understanding between Bristol, Tennessee and Bristol, Virginia for the Bristol Public Library. This actually was worked on by my predecessor, Mr. Sora, with the library board, and the draft before you is the result of that. I will note that the city of Bristol, Virginia did vote on the MOU at their meeting on March 28th, and they did vote to approve that. There are some items that our city attorney in reviewing would have had changed, but they are not items that should hold the review of the MOU up at this point. We will address them at the 5-year review and approval timeframe and make sure that we get things tied up a little bit tighter at that point. But before you have the memorandum of understanding that memorializes the funding and maintenance responsibilities for both the main library and the Avoca Branch Library. I don't know if the city attorney has any other comment.
Not really, other than this agreement was drafted in an odd way. I didn't really see it until after it had already been approved by other parties, and so there are some things I would have changed in it, but I think it's nothing that should stop us from going ahead and agreeing to it and supporting the library at this point.
I have a question. Is this something that we have to take action on tonight, or is it something that we could table until June so that we have greater clarity as to exactly your concerns?
We can. I can talk briefly about my concerns at this point. If you're, sorry, let me pull the agreement up and I can tell you. If you look at the second page of the agreement, there's a provision that the cities of Bristol, Virginia and Bristol, Tennessee will equally fund the joint library, including salaries and benefits, and then each annual allocation will match or exceed the allocation for the previous year. So that's common language that we have with a lot of our, it's a maintenance of efforts clause, basically, so it's similar to what we have with the school system. My concern there is that while I think that a maintenance of efforts clause for operations is probably sensible, I wouldn't want that to include capital. Because if we make a one-time capital contribution, then that should not have to be repeated if it's for some major project. So I had added clarify, or I had suggested that we clarify that language. The other major concern I had was in paragraph 7 dealing with capital projects. There's a sentence that says projects with an expected cost over 20% of the combined total budget for the library will be planned and approved by the cities at least 1 year in advance. And that doesn't really match with our budgeting process, which, as you know, we're budgeting now for fiscal year 2024. And so we can't actually budget for something that's over a year out. We can only budget for the next fiscal year. So I had added clarifying language to that that didn't make it into the document.
Then let me be clear. I will not vote for anything moving forward that we have any reservations about and that is not clear, absolutely clear in its entirety. Yep. So I make a motion that this be tabled until the concerns of council and the city manager, and while they may not be major in scope, they could be something that, and we want to be sure everything's lined up. And so I make a motion that we table Resolution 2340.
Okay, we have a motion.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion and second. Any discussion?
Can we discuss the tabling? Yeah.
I don't think a tabling is a, I can look real quick. I'm certainly can discuss the reasons for it, I think, but then you can't discuss the motion itself.
Well, it sounds like to me of this, if there is a question of the capital, so if it came before us, and this could be a detriment to the library of the fact, with that language that of the MOU with that, this council would not approve anything that came before us for that had to do with the capital improvements.
I don't know, I'm just following protocol to see what we're supposed to do, and maybe we don't even need to follow it, we can't talk a minute. So tabling is fine. We've waited however many years for this, so it started with probably at the beginning of when Bill Sora first came, we started looking, when he first came into this role, a group of folks started to look at it, and then it got dropped, and so it's been picked up again. And the MOU that we're operating under now, Brenda, is from what year, 1926 or? Okay, 1929, and then 2006 for the next one, so. Right, and I think city attorney's concerns, that's how we operate, I think, but we need to put it in writing for what? I think historically, mostly, except Capitol is new because we had a new library, and it's just now getting to the point at 15 years old to almost 20 years old. Say what, 16? Yeah. Anyway, that we're going to be looking at more capital projects with the age. So it is critical, but to have that in writing, I agree.
Well,
so I'm fine.
And to just clarify, bless your hearts, y'all sat through all this tonight, and I'm so sorry.
This is minor compared to everything that they have done.
Y'all know that you have the full support of the Bristol, Tennessee Council, and it has nothing to do with the library. It's that we've just dealt with something where maybe we were not as clear and concise as we should have been.
And I appreciate your commitment to making sure it's the way it should be. We did go to Bristol, Virginia Council meeting 3 times to change things, so we're up for
But you have our full support. I just want you to know that this is not any negative towards the library. It's just, we've just got to be sure we've got our ducks in a row.
It's due diligence.
Yep.
And just for the record, that's Tonya Kastner, Director of our library, and Brenda Dunn, who's the CFO of the library, so.
So technically, we're not supposed to debate the motion to table, but I think we're actually debating the motion itself. But the motion to table is still on the floor.
Right, so
and
we've
has
got
had a second, and so.
got a motion and a second.
Right.
I guess we're ready for a roll call.
Yes.
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 Okay, next we have Resolution 23-41 approving reversion of .11 acres of Still Creek Park to the state of Tennessee at 332 Alex Lane. Mr. Bourgeois, would you please summarize this matter for the public?
Thank you, Mayor. In your packets, you also have memo and supporting documentation for the reversion of .11 acres of Steel Creek Park to the state of Tennessee, and that's in regards to property at 332 Alex Lane. There is a property owner who purchased the property with the issue here that was created prior to their purchase, and realized in trying to sell the property that the portion of the building was built over the property line into the park. And when the park property was quitclaim deeded to the city from the state of Tennessee, there was a condition that it was solely to be used for the purpose of public recreation uses. No other use would be allowed. So in trying to work with the property owner and the state to ensure the remainder of our park is intact and not affected, the solution was to have the property that was built over revert back to the state of Tennessee, and then the state can work with the property owner on the transfer of that property to the property owner. So in your packet tonight, you have Resolution 23-41 that provides for that reversion. Again, the city attorney has done the work on a lot of this, and then Terry Napier, our Park and Rec Director, has also been actively involved in this project. So if there are questions from the council, I'm sure Mr. Napier or Ms. Smith can help answer those.
Some questions? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 2341, approving the reversion of .11 acres of Still Creek Park to the state of Tennessee, 332 Alex Lane.
Second.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Anyone like to discuss this resolution? Not. Mary Lee, we're ready for roll call.
Yes.
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 All right, this brings us to the consent agenda. Ms. Bourgeois, would you please read the items on tonight's consent agenda?
Mayor, I would like to pull Resolution 2346. Christy Halsey is here from the airport this evening, and I would like for us to vote on that separately.
Okay, so I'd like to pull 23-46.
Yes.
Will be voted on separately. Okay.
I'll move to approve the consent agenda without Resolution 23.
Before we have a motion,
What?
we should read the items.
Oh,
He's
I'm
got-
sorry.
yeah.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I forgot.
You're flying already.
I'm looking at the,
All right. Thank you. I'll read through these. Item A is the minutes, approval of the minutes of the April 4th City Council meeting. The next item is approval of the minutes of the April 17th City Council special called meeting. The next item is Resolution 2342, authorizing payment to Troutman Pepper Hamilton Sanders LLP for the legal fees. The next item is Resolution 2343, awarding a proposal for reinsurance for the self-funded health insurance plan. Next is Resolution 23-44, approving an amendment to the Administrative Services Agreement for the city's health and dental plans. That one is effective July 1 of 2022. The next item is Resolution 23-45, approving an amendment to the Administrative Services Agreement for the city's health and dental plans, and that one is effective January 1, 2023, and then the next item was pulled.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
oh, now I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda without Resolution 2346.
And I will second that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Mary Lee?
Yes.
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 Okay, now we have Resolution 23-46, a resolution expressing the city's commitment to match up to $20,000 towards a small community air service development grant.
Thank you, Mayor. This item is a expression of a commitment for a grant match towards the small community air services development. And Christy from the airport is the Director of Marketing and Air Service Development from Tri-Cities. If Christy wants to give a brief overview of this. I'm sorry, Christy Halsey. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you all for having me here. The Small Community Air Service Development Program Grant is a U.S. Department of Transportation grant that is available for non-hub small airports such as the Tri-Cities Airport. So this is a grant opportunity that comes around annually, but we do not apply for it until we know that we are ready to perhaps pursue additional air service. So we're at a time where we are submitting this grant. It does require community matching funds to be able to put it in and to be successful in getting the grant. So we are putting that grant in for service to Chicago. We don't obviously have an airline of knowing who that might be, but it will certainly greatly enhance our opportunity to be able to get this grant with your all support. Do we have any questions for me? Any more details?
Thank you so much.
I've got a comment, if it's okay. You know, this right here will be a huge step in potentially creating additional tourism to our areas. Not only is it flight going to Chicago, but people come from Chicago to our area. So this could be very, very lucrative for our entire community.
And just to piggyback on that, we know that through Explore Bristol, our data points tell us that there is an incredible amount of interest from the Chicago area in coming into Tri-Cities. So this is very appropriate. We've got the data points to back this up, and we're looking forward to see what airlines will pick this up.
We do too.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I'd say there's a lot of interest in flying out to Chicago as well for giving us another option for connecting flights.
Yeah, there's about 100 additional connecting flights that we can make through Chicago.
Right.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve Resolution 2346.
Second.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Mary Lee?
Yes.
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 Okay, this brings us to the city manager's report, which I guess I should have in the beginning, but since everyone was here and we had a great crowd to welcome you, welcome.
Thank you.
And we're so happy that you're here.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me fumble through this meeting. I appreciate your graciousness on that. And again, I'm in my second week now. I want to thank the city council, the staff, and the community for the warm welcome and working me through a lot of learning faces and names and processes. It's been a great start to hopefully a very great, very long career here. The budget process is in full swing. That's been an incredible learning curve. And the city council's full-day work session is this coming May 16th. And I just want to congratulate again our community graduates and thank John Luttrell for the work that he did. It's so fun to see high schoolers actually interested in local government and community and leadership. So what a fun way to start this position here. So again, thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me kind of fumble my way through my first meeting, and I look forward to many more that will be much smoother.
You did great. All right, city council comments.
I would just like to thank everybody that's worked so hard to get everything that you've seen tonight put together. It's a lot, and to go through and thank everyone individually. We have a lot coming up. I'm looking forward to the budget process. I'm incredibly thrilled that you are here, and welcome.
Thank
I'll just ditto those comments.
You want me, I've got my list.
No,
I
I'm
apologize,
sure you
it's
do.
late. But anyway, I too want to just say welcome to Kelly, and I'm so glad that you're out there meeting some different folks, et cetera, and I would not categorize your participation tonight as fumbling through. You've done great, so appreciate that. Also, the Communiversity, Youth and Public Service, just want to, again, as we all are, thank John, thank our staff, thank everybody who did programming and worked to be creative in what they did with the young people. And just to note that it's been a long time coming to this point, and I look at Joel Staten back there, who as mayor and city council, we went to National League of Cities and saw how youth had participation in the local city government, and it's taken a while to get there. Also for the youth center, just it's in 1998, 99, the Ignite visioning process, there's a youth component, and a youth center was very much a part of the several things that came from that we have accomplished a few things, but that's one thing we haven't, so I would love for us to continue with hearing what some of their proposals were, not the $9 million one. So anyway, also just make a note that we had a split vote tonight, and that doesn't happen real often, but it is healthy for us to agree. Of course, I'm talking from the 3-1 side. But anyway, disagreement's good, and especially if we can have good discussion and good listening to each other, et cetera. So, economic development team, just wanted to just say kudos and congratulations always with Tom and Matt and April Eads, who is here, and also just to note that community relations are a part of that team as well. And it's pretty awesome what they do, especially for a community town that's our size, and what the work that they do and the quality, et cetera. And let's see, I already talked about Old Jonesboro Road, so that's good. I wanted to note that there's a DEI Alliance Conference on May 12th. It'd be great if any of our city council, city staff could attend that. This is the second one. And that's diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the focus is on economic development, recognizing that particularly our young people are looking for diverse communities that welcome different cultures and different people from all kinds of walks of life, and that's what what young folks are looking for, and so the Alliance is looking that we really need to be sure that we're that kind of region for welcoming people. The last, I'll say that today I went to the service of Wilhelmina Banks, and our newspaper left, but they did a very nice article. She was a strong warrior in our community, challenged us all to look hard at what we do and how we do it, and she was big with Joel, again, I can call on you, the Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard that I think we're very proud of to have in our community. That renaming, she was huge with that. It is one of the few streets, and definitely the most prominent street, that crosses our state line with the same name on both sides. She also had I'm going to say it wrong, but the Numba Yatazi Peacock Museum that told the history of some of folks in our community, as well as some of the roots of some of the folks in our community. And I really valued that when she answered her telephone, when you called her, she answered it, no justice, no peace. And so we know that that Wilhelmina is now at peace, but those of us who worked with her some, and she wasn't always easy, she would be still saying that in our ear to keep working, keep striving, and keep going. So thank you for always letting me have quite a few things to say. I appreciate y'all all.
Anything?
Nope.
Okay.
That's enough.
Sorry, I just took
That's
you
enough.
Can I
I'm ready
add
to
one
go.
more thing, Mayor? Want to say hello to our fine distinguished commissioner, Mr. David Aker, for being here with us tonight. It's always a pleasure to see you in our audience.
We're adjourned.